Okay, folks. This is it. It's all over.
Yes.
My name is Trevor Horton. I am Michael Horton's son. And you're going to hate me, but I'm not taking over LAFCPUG. So you can hate me for the rest of the night. Before I bring my dad up here, I want to share a little video that I did for him. But I need to give you a little bit of context first. So about 6 years ago, my dad was the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award. This was at the Faster Together stage. I think Patrick was a part of that. He sort of had me put this video together. And so, and I had the pleasure of putting together a video. So I need to give you a little bit of background. There's sort of a running joke between me and my dad with this video. I had created this video obviously for that event 6 years ago, and I thought that was going to be it. We weren't going to show it again, and it would stand on its own 2 feet then. That was it. What I quickly realized was this was going to actually work perfectly for 2 other major events in his life. The first one being tonight. The second one being when he's dead, and I show it at his funeral. So 2 down, 1 to go, Pops. Here we go. No, but in all seriousness, I think I can speak for so many people in here when I say that without LAFCPUG, without Super Meets, without my dad, our lives would be very different and not for the better. So, you know, I hope this video reminds us all of you know, the impact that he's made on the industry and our lives. It also reminds us why coming to these things is just so damn important. So, please enjoy. Lights, please.
Hi, my name is Michael Horton, and I'm the head of the Los Angeles Final Cut Pro User Group, or as we affectionately like to call it, LAFCPUG. What we do for this portion of the meeting for the next 30 minutes is try to solve your problems with Final Cut Pro.
You can see the image is already looking better. That's real time.
You can create any kind of effect you want.
And I think this is going to be the future of film editing.
Please welcome Walter Murch. I'm so nervous. And this is the 3rd anniversary of the Los Angeles Final Cut Pro User. So, without further ado, let's see what's in 3. Los Angeles debut of Final Cut Pro 4.
We have any East Coasters in the house?
Calgary Final Cut Pro Users Group.
UK Final Cut User Group.
Norwegian Final Cut User Group.
The San Diego Final Cut User Group.
We flew all the way from Hong Kong over here to just outside the center.
The community that's surrounding Final Cut Pro and Final Cut Studio is just a tremendous community, and we really like hanging out with these people.
Hello everybody and welcome to the first annual LAFCPUG Super Meet. This is all about community. This is all about networking. This is all about learning. Now, turn around and shake the hands of a stranger that you do not know and say hello. This is our favorite Super Meet of the year.
My name is Michael Horton. I'm from Los Angeles, and thank you, Boston, for giving me this weather.
Super Meets are not just about what is up here on stage or what is down below. It is about the human connection.
It is about coming together and meeting someone who can change your life. That does not mean that we are going to give up Final Cut Pro and helping you learn Final Cut Pro. It means that we are going to move more towards the creative aspect of editing, beginning with tonight. We want to move into your imagination. We want to move into your creativity. We want to move into inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Arthur Schmidt.
This is the most important thing that you can do, is to show up at these kinds of events and meet and greet and say, hi, my name is.
We cannot and we should not define ourselves by what tools we use. The only way that we should define ourselves is what we do with the tools.
Lights, please. Ladies and gentlemen, my dad, Michael Horton. And I got him another Lifetime Achievement Award.
God. That's boy, that makes me look good. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's just really good work. It's just thank you, and it makes all of this so worth it. And thank you all for staying. I know some of you are staying for the raffle, but but thank you for staying for me. Which is, by the way, before we begin, I think all of you know this person sitting on my left here, Steve Martin. And a few weeks ago, we asked Steve if he would like to be the guy who interviews me about the last several years of LAFCPUG, because he was here from the very beginning, the second meeting of back in 2000, July of 2000. And so nobody knows the early days of Final Cut, the user group, more than Steve. And Steve was generous enough to say yes. And so thank you, Steve, for being here.
My pleasure, Mike. Yeah, this moment feels rather surreal to me because I'm usually up here doing a tip or a stump the gurus or demos or something. But it's so, today I just get to interview my friend, Michael. And we're going to do a little bit of trip through memory lane. We're going to look back at some very key moments in the evolution of our industry. And I think some of you may be familiar with these key moments, some of you not, but I think you'll find it very instructive. It was quite a time, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, you all know this thing called the digital revolution, the DV revolution, which is back in, it started in 2000. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Our first meeting was at Video Symphony in Burbank, and that was a room that held maybe 25 people, and 50 people showed up because it was born out of the community of tupop.com. And Tupop was a forum, an online forum, was a website started by Lawrence Jordan. And immediately we outgrew the space. I know, am I going too fast?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
We were off script, and it's awesome.
We're already off script.
We're already off script. Jeez. And then we moved to Dr. Rostock, outgrew that place. Moved to Moviola, outgrew that place. And moved to the LA Film School, stayed there for a couple of years. And they got kicked out and then came here. So we've been here, I think, over 20 years. So... And quite frankly, it's just a great venue for what we do. It has a great screen, and we've got a lot of really good artists out there who get to show their stuff and their software and their films, and a really good projector, especially the projector we're using tonight is a 20K projector. Although we can only use 15K of it for some rule. I don't know what it is, but...
See, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic by saying that this is the most influential creative user group that's ever existed. 25 years, that's incredible. And so 25 years, Mike, how are you feeling right now?
I'm very emotional. I am, and I think a lot of you know that. I've talked to you about that. I'm very emotional about retiring, as I think anybody is when they use the word retire. Although I do have a lot to do in my later years. I'm going to go, help the environment, and I'm going to plant trees and do habitat restoration, and so it's not like I'm going anywhere. I'll still be here. I'll still keep the same email. I'll still keep in touch with all of you very talented people. All you have to do is write me, and we'll keep in touch, because the last 25 years have been I'm enormously grateful just for knowing all of you, because especially the talented people that I got to talk to and the talented people I get to hang out with every month. So yeah, this is rough, but it's 25 years and I need to do it. So.
Yeah, so it's bittersweet because it represents the end of an era. Like all good stories, this one's coming to an end. But like all good stories, I thought it might be good to start from the beginning and going back and show the kind of trajectory of where we started and where we come from, where we're going. And it's not hard. This is where it all started. This box changed everything.
No, I can't tell you everything changed when this thing came out. Yeah. I saw it. I said, I can do this. I can understand it. I wanted to edit my own movies like everybody else did. You didn't have to pay $100,000 for an Avid system. It was Firewire. It was just plug into your computer. There was no excuses anymore to tell stories. This thing changed everything.
But it was a confluence of things, because it was at the same time Apple came out with the G3 Mac that had a Firewire port. And if those of you remember this, the Sony VX2000. This was another camcorder. It was, like I said, a confluence of events. We had the G3, we had the Final Cut Pro, and then we had this camera, which Mike says...
I had a VX1000.
Yeah, so this is good at Firewire. In fact, I was talking about this with a friend. He goes, I have one of those cameras. And I went over to his house. And I put a DV camera. I can actually shoot with this thing. It actually still records. 26-year-old camera. It still works. Anyway, look, these two things here, it really was a revolution. This software and that camera and the G3 Mac. It was, like Michael was saying, the Avid was $100,000. And I think the closest... the cheapest nonlinear was a Media 100 at 30K, right? Yeah, 30K. Yeah, so it was a big deal because you could put together a computer, camera, and the software. This was $1,000, and then for under $7,000, you were
You were storytelling. You were a film director. You were making documentaries. You were making small little films. You were learning. And then I wanted to hang out with people who knew more than I did. So I started this group. But who knew that it would explode?
Yeah. Now, before we get to that, because most people don't know about Mark.
We're way off script here.
I know, it's okay. But you know what? It's all right.
It's okay.
A lot of people
so
don't know.
I'm just waiting for my moment to
Yeah.
click a button here.
How many of you in here knew that Mike was a working actor in television and film? All right. Yeah, so here's some of
now we're back on script.
There we go.
Isn't that awesome? So, most of these shows are familiar to me because I'm a boomer, right? But
yeah, there was all 80s and 90s shows, and but and what I wanted, the reason I quit acting, and I quit it in 2000. I wanted to direct, and when I saw this, it was my opportunity. And but then, like I said, I wanted to hang out with people who were smarter than me so I can learn this stuff. And I did, but the problem is this user group took so much time, and my wife said, "Is there any way you can make money?" And 25 years later, no. But the super meets, I made money. But the LAFCPUG meetings, I didn't.
So in the early days of the digital video revolution, to use your words, there wasn't a lot of resources for people. I mean, YouTube didn't exist until 2008. And as Michael was mentioning, we had online forums, one of them being Tupop. And then there was another one, I don't know if you recall, but kenstone.net.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Ken Stone, he's in the court. He was a regular at the Stump the Gurus table. He was up here, and he was passionate about Final Cut Pro. And what was really amazing to me about that time is how many different people were brought into the industry who wouldn't have normally, I mean, the barrier of entry to filmmaking was huge before Final Cut Pro. And so we had a lot of people, colorists, editors, filmmakers, directors, producers. Now I can tell the story I want to tell, just like Michael said.
Yeah, exactly. And then especially Tupop at the beginning, because they had this guy named Ralph Fairweather.
Yeah.
And he never slept. Yeah, he was amazing. He never slept, and he would answer everybody's problems and issues because Final Cut had issues, and it did some things that we didn't understand why, and Ralph was there to explain it, and then it exploded because of him. If anybody's more responsible for Final Cut, it's Ralph Fairweather, and of course Randy Ubelos, who invented it.
So let's going back to the early days, we're talking 2000 to about 2003. There was so much hunger to learn this stuff. I was a trainer. I was a master trainer for Apple. I trained other trainers to teach Final Cut. And we were teaching in Santa Monica, and I can't stress, we had rooms where it was standing room only, of people trying to get in to learn Final Cut. In fact, at the NAB show, I think it was 2003, Apple had a classroom that they set up, and it was really funny because they'd open the doors at 9 a.m. and people would literally stampede to get to the booth. And it was just an incredible time. So this is the 2003 Apple, and by the way, their booth's no longer there. Blackmagic Design has taken their footprint. Same spot if you go to NAB, but Apple owned that space for the first part of the 2000s. They just owned it, all the way up to, I think, Final Cut version 4.
Yeah, it's when Steve Jobs didn't want to do conventions anymore. Yeah. Just stopped it, which is too bad because that's what everybody would congregate around that place. So not just to take classes, but just to be with each other, and so it worked as a community space.
Getting back to the LAFCPUG, you mentioned earlier you had different places, and this wasn't, we're longest here at this location.
Yeah, this was the longest one, and I can't remember the exact year. It's on my website, but I think it's been 21 years since.
It was June
yeah,
2000.
Well, June of 2000 is when we started the organization, but here, I can't remember when it was. But it was me and Chris Meyer, because when we got here, there was this big, giant huge torpedo-like lens projector up there that was not going to work. And Apple gave us a digital projector, believe it or not. That's when they actually gave us stuff. And so they gave us a digital projector, which we used. And then Chris Meyer, being the geekhead that he was, built this really cool thing that we called the rack. And we had a DSR-11, we had VHS tapes, we had all this stuff that we could project onto the screen. And then eventually it evolved into wireless mics and 20K projectors and all this other stuff. And so thank you, Gallery Theater, for keeping up with us.
Yeah, you were filming, and you were like making DVDs and sending out to people.
And DVDs, yeah. We were at LA Film School, which was always standing room only. Every month was standing room only. And we would make, Moviola gave us people and money to do DVDs. And we, I don't know how long it lasted, but I think it lasted a couple of years, but nobody bought them. So they lost money.
Oh, you got a DVD.
Do you have one of them?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was the only guy that bought him. But I have a garage full of them.
Yeah. So I really like that list of editors, and you've had some pretty amazing people show up and interview.
You did bring up the yeah. I mean, that's just a few, because I couldn't remember all of them. But one of the really cool things about this group is I get to talk to those people.
Yeah.
And I mean, just talking to Michael tonight was a thrill. And a couple months ago, William Goldenberg and Eddie Hamilton and Kelly and Walter and Billy Fox and Arthur Schmidt and Dee Dee Allen, for God's sakes. I mean, it was Walter Murch who put us on the map big time, because he was our first big time celebrity guest in 2004. 2 years later, Dee Dee Allen. All of a sudden we had cachet. And it was easy to get other celebrities. So I said, well, Walter Murch has been here, and so has Dee Dee Allen. And you're in good company. And so it was much easier to get the big-time legendary editors to come here. So, but boy, what a thrill to be able to talk to these people.
I was thinking about my connection with the editor that he had up here, because they edited Creed, right? Apollo Creed, which is, Creed was his supposed to be son, right? So
yes.
The original Apollo Creed was Carl Weathers, and the reason I'm bringing that up and the connection is, where's Rami? So at Rami's digital film tree on Hollywood, he actually hosted Final Cut, and Carl Weathers was in one of my first Final Cut Pro classes at Digital Film Tree. So I just think that was kind of a cool thing. Yeah, super nice guy.
And speaking of Rami, where are you? Are you here, Rami,
right
still? Oh, there you are. Speaking of Rami, he's pretty much the guy who put the Pro in Final Cut Pro. I mean, and if you're going to do a documentary on the early days of Final Cut Pro, he'd be one of the stars. And we've talked about that before, but he's a big deal when it comes to what he did with Final Cut. And he also, because Apple wouldn't support Walter Murch doing Cold Mountain, Digital Film Tree were the ones who supported it and made it work.
Yeah, in fact, that was another key moment in the evolution of Final Cut, because Apple couldn't conceive of why people would want to edit in 24 frames per second. So, well, because the things are shot that way. So there was a point in history where there was this company, I think it was called Film Logic, and what they do is you'd scan your film, your negative to video, and you'd have some empty time code, and then those time code would match back to the key code along the negative. And this is what Rami's group figured out how to do, like cut a feature, because people were actually cutting physical negative back then. There was no DIs, there was no digital projection. Everybody had, if you want to make a film on Final Cut, you cut it, you got to match it back 24, and then you got to cut negative. In fact, the first film that was actually DI was the Coen brothers, where they scanned to 2K and they edited all digitally, and they ended up cutting film. But see, now we have a complete digital pipeline. I mean, we put out DCP files and digital projections. It's hard to imagine there was a time when you had to cut film, right, Rom?
Yes, Napoleon Dynamite actually beat them to that.
So he said Napoleon Dynamite beat Oh Brother, Where Art Thou to the, yeah.
Do everything you just said, and as for Walter, I love you guys with all my heart. I'm so overwhelmed. Tim built the Final Cut Pro systems that were sent to Bucharest that allowed Walter to edit.
Yeah, he said that they built a Final Cut Pro system and sent it to Bucharest so Walter could edit the film.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes balls.
Well, I mean, ultimately, Apple bought that company, and it became Cinema Tools, right. Right.
Yeah, so we're getting really geeky here, and for those of you who don't remember,
but I think kind of it's important to kind of see the evolution. It's all started here with this, $1,000 piece of software in a box.
Some of the people who started this thing are here in this theater.
Yeah. And, I'm just curious, how many people are here at the original around 2000? I'm just curious. Oh wow, awesome.
There's Michael Alberts back there.
Yeah, Michael Alberts
the
is
very
he
first
was
meeting.
the very first meeting or the second meeting, just like Steve, because he was doing a feature with Final Cut Pro. He was like the first guy to do it, I think. I think George Washington was the first movie. That was the name of the movie, George Washington. But it could have been, George Washington could have used Final Cut.
So we're going to look at a plot twist in the story of the Super Meets. You saw up there, he had his local meetings, but then there was a network of them all over the country, and once a year they would get together in Las Vegas for something called the Super Meet. And that was the big one because it was NAB, and that was when all the manufacturers would release all their new products, software, hardware. It was the place to go. Now, Mike's life was about to change on one particular evening in April of 2011. This is when Apple released Final Cut Pro 10. Not X, 10.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let Michael in his own words tell you what a wonderful story that was.
Yeah. And Steve, more than anybody, knows what a wonderful story that was. For those of you who do remember, it became the Apple takeover of the Super Meet, and that's exactly what it was. It was a takeover by Apple who wanted to introduce Final Cut Pro 10 to the world, but we already had our people booked on stage, and they said, well, just unbook them. And so, being the 500-pound gorilla that they were, Dan and I just went along with the ride and unbooked the Blackmagic Design and Adobe, and luckily they were really nice about it, except for Avid.
What did they tell you exactly?
They told me, believe it or not, that they were going to sue us. And I can't remember the guy's name. He was like the product manager, and he probably, he didn't have the right to even say he was going to sue us, but it scared the shit out of me. I mean, it was bad enough that we had to go to all of our sponsors and tell them, this is what's happening with the show now. You're probably going to get a really, really big audience, and we did get a really, really big audience. It was just insanely big. It got so big that the room was so crowded nobody can go to the sponsor tables. And so I got that crap. And then the other thing is, for most of you, it was probably the worst rollout of a new product in the history of new product.
What do you mean?
Well, no.
What are you talking about?
I mean, the people who loved Final Cut loved it from the beginning, but it was not a good rollout.
It was kind of like, I like to say it this way, Apple should have done a dissolve when they did a hard cut.
Yeah, especially that. Yeah, when you couldn't go back to the old version.
Yeah, you couldn't. That was it.
Yes.
So, I think just being there, watching all the people, I think they were intrigued. Apple completely redesigned the interface, and it was much more friendly to all these digital formats. It was supposed to be next generation thinking in terms of, we're going to get even more people involved in digital video story creation. So that was kind of Apple's mindset. In fact, I'll just be honest, Apple is the only company who had the balls and the money to do something that radical. They just did, and I personally, I've been all in about Final Cut, but it's like, yeah, look, that's, That's Pete Steinauer. He's a lead engineer on the Final Cut Pro Apps team, and he shared something with me. I don't think he'd mind me telling you, but he's not a presenter. Steve Jobs said, you're going to be presenting your software that night. So yeah, so Steve asked him, and he's up there because, well, you don't say no to Steve. So that was, he did a really great job. But so, yeah, people were just in shock. I was actually, they were intrigued, excited, but what am I looking at?
I mean, I was in tears. Honest to God, I was in tears before we were in the lobby, and I'm drinking.
Oh, he was, because I walked up to him, and he's like literally. He was all by himself. There was no one around him. His face was ashen. He's already like on his third drink.
And I'm telling Steve, I go, Jesus, I don't know, I can't go through this. It's like, and it was the worst night of my life. I know. Final Cut fans are going to say, what do you? Avid loved the demo so much they halfway through they stormed out of the place in glee.
Yeah. Adobe's like, yes!
Yes. So my whole take on that night is a little bit different than yours, but to be fair to them, the top guys told them, you do this. And of course they did. Phil Schiller said, put the hammer down, you got to do this thing. And it's ready to ship, so let's show it off.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were willing to were really excited about it, and then, it didn't come in a box back in 2011. It was delivered on their Mac App Store. So everybody downloaded it when it was available, I think June, a few months later, and everyone's starting downloading. Like, what's this? Where are my tracks? Where's the color wheels? Where's this? Where's the time code? And I just remember specifically, I think it was YouTube videos, because YouTube's already, anyway, there were videos. There was of people literally taking the Final Cut and dropping it in the trash. It's kind of funny.
Who is it? Kylie. Kylie's here somewhere. Kylie, she sent me that video. I think it's that video of that. It's a brilliant video. Yeah. Of all the things that Final Cut couldn't do when it first came out.
Yeah, so the thing about, obviously, I'm a huge Final Cut. I don't apologize. I use it all the time. I think it's still great. It's matured.
Now I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm just actually just curious. How many use Final Cut in here? Okay, good. All right. Just curious, But that's a far cry from 2001, right, when everyone was using Final Cut. But
waited over a year before I went to 10. And I realized I've got to look at it as a completely new program. And just learned it.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it, as a completely new program, and then you'll take it to heart much easier. Yeah.
So just a couple of other things. At some point, you changed the name of the user group from LAFCPUG to some creative user group, right?
Yeah, we actually did that up in San Francisco Super Meet and called it the F-bomb. We actually did this little animation where we blew up the F.
Did you? Do you have that? That'd be cool.
I think it was Dan Berube came up with the graphic or something. It was a brilliant idea. And but honest to God, it really didn't have anything to do with Final Cut Pro 10 because this group and even the Super Meet had been doing the other NLEs many years before Final Cut 10. But we knew that it was to have some sort of longevity. We really just needed to drop the F. Because it wasn't it wasn't a Final Cut Pro user group. It was a creative user group. And it was just the right thing to do at the right time. At the right time was Final Cut 10 came out, so everybody thought, well, we hated it, and so it really had nothing to do with that. Yeah. That's the truth.
What do you feel is your greatest accomplishment for this group? Like, what do you feel most proud of?
God, lasting 25 years is like. That's how'd you do it? Yeah, how'd you do it, Horton?
How many automatic pop load?
This is my favorite award, the Automatic Duck Bottle Opener Lifetime Achievement Award. I wish Wes was here.
I know.
And by the
You
way,
wanted to.
I brought a box of Automatic Duck Bottle Openers. So when you win something, you can actually take a handful if you want. It's like,
Last box.
but no, I think the greatest accomplishment for me anyway is just hanging out with you guys for so long and hearing later on that it meant something to you. And but you don't do these things to get accolades or anything like that. You just, because of ego, you just try to do the best show that you possibly can and hope somebody gets something out of it, because one person will always get something out of it, one person won't. But you hope that one person does, and later on will give it to somebody else and play it forward. And that's, of course, that's, I think, what happened. And that's my greatest accomplishment, is I think I converted a lot of people into not only loving this industry, but keeping at it. And I don't know, I can't really express it in the words that I want to, because I'm starting to get emotional, but it's, I'm glad you're here, and it means the world to me.
So, yes, absolutely. So we have a few minutes left, and I thought it would be good. I know we're going to do the raffle, but we have a few minutes left. I thought if anyone has a personal short story about like what this group has meant to you, and you want to share that, or a Mike Horton story, now would be a good time to share it. I'll bring the mic to you, but my thing is just keep it short. So
I blush easy.
Yeah. Hang on.
Should we do the same thing where we go each?
So we'll start over here.
So first of all, I remember coming here. I was a baby of that 10.6 rollout. That's literally when I start getting into editing. And I just wanted to let you know how important what you have set has done for not only me, I'm sure many people in this room, is when I first got here, I didn't even know nothing like this existed. And then I was around a bunch of people who I thought I was one of the only nerds around. But then it was so cool to come in this room and meet so many other like-minded people. And I just wanted to say, what you've done with this group, it will transcend, and it will be here, and it will live on for years to come. And I just want to let you know, thank you personally for what you've done for this group and everything you meant to the community. And Steve, yourself, your son, everybody in this room, I'm just really grateful for everybody here, and wish you the best on your retirement. Just wanted to make a statement.
Well, I think definitely this has been a wonderful experience, especially for me, where the majority of my career was in web media and watching and being part of the YouTube growth. And so I always kind of felt like, for me, it was like I was unworthy of like meeting anyone in the traditional space, also because I'm just that weird YouTube hack who's ruining everything. But then I always had that assumption until I started coming here, and I realized that like everyone has so much in common. We're all trying to figure out the same problems in storytelling. And so for everyone to be so welcoming, and for me to finally start exploring the traditional space, like made me fall in love with film so much more. And so it's just with the experiences through this that has like reinvigorated like everything that I love about filmmaking. And so it's for me just how generous you guys are welcoming me into that space has always meant so much to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Hayden. That was Hayden Hilliard-Smith, by the way. Look him up. He's one of the most talented storytellers out there. He's got a YouTube channel that'll blow you away. Hayden Hilliard-Smith.
It's the editing podcast? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brian. I started my career sort of really in earnest in about 2005. I was on the East Coast in New York, and I moved out to LA in 2019. And, you know, I was trying to sort of make a big shift in my career, and I discovered Lacpug pretty shortly after I moved here. And it was amazing. It was such an amazing congregation of people. I met new friends here. I brought old friends here. And it's just been such a beautiful community to be a part of and see grow. And, you know, as the others have said, you know, it's just going to continue to grow even after it sort of ends. You know, it's never really going to end. So just thank you so much for creating this community. It's such a beautiful thing. And it really did help, you know, it was a shot in the arm for my career at the time. And I've been, you know, coming for 6 years and, you know, being kind of, you know, as devoted as I can be. It always gave me something to look forward to. And every panel was just filled with, you know, informative, educational, entertaining, you know, stories, really insightful things. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't thank you enough for doing all this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Michael, my buddy Ross and I started coming here on 3.1. 3.1, everybody. 20 years ago. When Ross and I did our first film, we realized we need to be editors because the editing just wasn't working. And at that time, there was no place where we could come and actually learn how to save a film. And we did it. And it was so inspirational.
Didn't you do a show and tell at LA Film School for me, or was that here?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
And in my last film and my film before that, you've always given us a space to come and just share with everybody. And I appreciate that so much. And it was so much. I've won like $3,000 worth of raffles. And I know, isn't that crazy? And I always won exactly what I needed at that time to fix the problem that I was having. That's direct access right there. That's like the higher good. And I'll be super quick. My daughter wanted to be a little filmmaker, and she was like 9 years old. And she came, and there was this wild presentation where this guy had furries humping each other, and my daughter's like 9 years old, and Michael's like, yeah, it's good. But here's the irony. After the meeting, because it wasn't just that one crazy thing that my wife and I were like, oh no. But there were some great presenters, and there were people that explained film in weird ways at the time. And now my daughter is at LACPUG, the #1 performing arts high school. She's a film student, and she just won Best Performance in her last film festival. And part of that inspiration is because the community you built. And so the last thing I'll say, so thank you for so much and so many reasons. And the last thing I'll tell you is when the digital revolution started, everyone told us we could.
Yeah.
But you were the only one that showed us how we could.
I feel like it was one of these AFI award shows. Hello. You're all so sweet.
I may be the only person in the room who was here for the first meeting, and I'm here for this meeting. I came over specifically because having watched Michael do this for so many years, I've been involved in the super meets and everything else. Nobody really knows how much sweat, effort, and passion Michael has put into this, not just for one meeting or 100 meetings, but for all of these meetings. I've never seen anybody devote themselves so passionately to helping other people improve their lives than this guy right here. And it's been a privilege through all those years, Michael.
Same here, Bill.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I moved here about 10 years ago this year. And after having been in the business, you know, struggling in New York for almost 10 years before that. And so I came here and I knew nobody, and it was I was completely starting over. And it took me way too long to get clued into this community and to what Michael was doing. And so I came more recently. I've been coming as much as I can. And what I've found really is there are a lot of like mixers and things to go to. But this is the group where I feel like I'm not only among friends, I'm among colleagues and among people that I can just talk to and get fired up. And a couple months back, I was able to take a microphone and talk to a Zoom-bound Walter Murch and just ask him my question. And he answered back to us because he was here and because of Michael's relationship with him. And I realized that he wasn't, we were talking to him as a colleague. So it's been such an energizing feeling to know that this is a community of people that are in some way, we're all looking out for each other. And we wouldn't be all here in this room doing that. And we wouldn't all be able to turn to one another and shake each other's hands if someone hadn't marshaled us all together. So, like everybody else, thank you so much for all you've done. And I'm sorry it took me so long to get here.
Thank you. Hey, Steve, we got to move on.
This is the last one because we're running out of time.
This is the last one.
Oh, I can't be the closer. Oh. Well, okay, Michael.
Yeah, one of my favorite people.
you have made on multiple occasions the very dubious decision to let me rock the mic down there.
Yes.
And
this is Doug Blush, everybody, one of the finest.
And I mean, I track back to the Chris and Trish days and all the venues and all the places. And when I finally got to be up on stage and doing things with you just off to the side saying, we got to get to the raffle. Come on, keep going. I realized, I've been very lucky to be able to teach around the world and do seminars and try to teach our craft to people from different countries. But I never had as much satisfaction as when I could come back here to my backyard and bring it home to Los Angeles and what you created right here. And I just want to say, when I saw that shot of Norm Holland, it just reminded me of all the people we've lost, but who gave us so much. And I'm just so glad that we're still together and we're doing this one more time. So
me
thanks.
too. Thank you. Y'all are so sweet, but we have a time restriction and we have to get out of here. And I know you want to do the raffle. Can you move your cameras and stuff? And it's like, all right, this is it. I know this is what some of you have been waiting for all night. This is the last world famous raffle.